Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today what I'm going to do is do a little review and a little bit of a test of these coloring books that I got at Dollar Tree. I actually created my own coloring books and they're available on Amazon. And so I was just wanting to see what is out there, like what people are buying, what they can get for $1. And I want to see how that compares to my coloring book that I have right here. So I want to compare like the paper, have a look at how different materials work on it, that sort of thing. So we're going to go through it. The books that I have, so this is my coloring book that is printed on Amazon KDP. And I've done a couple of pages in this already, and I do have a video on my channel where I use some watercolors to color a page in this coloring book. So the books that I've got at the Dollar Tree are this one, this floral one. It says Floral Grown-Up Coloring Book, and it is done by Vision Publishing LLC, and it's printed in the USA. The second one is this one, and I wanted to find something mermaid related because my book is a mermaid book. So this one is nautical sea creature type theme, and then this one is published by this company called Bendon. And then this is a coloring book that is by that same company, Bendon. It is actually a little bit different. It's color by number, and I've seen a couple of these books on Amazon. I wanted to have a look and see what the fuss is all about. So we're gonna be looking at all these. Let's start with this floral one. Why I'm comparing them is just because I have it here and this is my book, so it's just interesting for me to compare them. Also, my book is, like I said, printed with Amazon KDP. So a lot of the books that you see on Amazon that are coloring books, adult coloring books, a lot of them are published independently by the artist, and they're published through Amazon KDP. So it's not just my book that I'm comparing it to, it's any book published through Amazon KDP or what used to be Createspace. So right off the bat, this is a perfect bound book. And so my coloring book that I have is also perfect bound. And this book is quite thick, so it has quite a few pages. My book that I have has 60 pages. So this looks pretty much exactly the same. My book is also 8.5 by 11 inches, and this one is a little bit, tiny bit smaller than that. So what you get, you don't get anything like titles or anything like that in this book. The paper feels nice, it's kind of like thick. And you do get, why I like this one is because you do get the paper blank on the other side, which is how I have it in my coloring book too, and a lot of people have it that way now. That page is printed pretty gray randomly. This one again is a little bit faded. So every now and then one of them is a little bit faded. Have you been counting? I haven't been counting. I don't know how many actual illustrations we have, but it does look like they are all different. Very similar, but every one is different. This is cute, little ladybug on there. To be honest, I'm not the kind of person that likes to color random patterns. I really much prefer a scene or a character or something to color. This definitely has more than the 25 illustrations that I have in my book. And that's it. We don't get any kind of information in the beginning or end. It's just the illustrations, and that is all. Another detail about this book is that it is perforated right here. Let's test that real quick. That was relatively easy. So if you wanted to, you could actually detach the page, then color it, and then, I don't know, display it, put it back in the book. I'll just put it at the back here. And I will say that the paper does feel like it is a bit thicker Then the paper, the KDP paper, I don't know if you can tell how kind of thin that is compared to this. It does feel like it is a little bit heavier. Then the next two by this same company, Bendant, it also has the perforated pages, but these books are stapled. They are printed double, so there's double-sided. And this paper feels like cheap children's book coloring paper. You can see that it's not white. It's definitely got like a gray hue to it, so it's kind of like newsprint. If you compare it to like a white page, you can see, okay, let me go to a white. You can see the difference right there, how this is like quite bright and white and this is not. This is just gray. I would feel like this is kind of like your normal sort of printer paper. This is that very thin gray, not the best. Let's have a look at the illustrations. But again, we don't have any introduction, anything at the end, any author info, artist info, nothing. And if you look here at the back, copyright adobestock.com. So these are all collected from Adobe stock. So that is something to think about, because a lot of these are just very different styles. There's, look at this little doodle, random patterns, stuff like this. Like some of this is really interesting. And it's interesting that they have the tearaway pages, but then it's printed on both sides, so it ghosts. So you can see that like the illustration from the back, you can actually see it through the paper. As a person who put together a coloring book, this really bothers me, because I feel like you should have not just a cohesive theme, but a cohesive style in your book. You shouldn't have these kinds of pages that sort of like completely don't match each other throughout the book. However, if that doesn't bother you and you like all sorts of different kinds of drawings to color, then this would be, one of these books would be good for you, because then it's got like a ton of different styles that you can experiment with. This size of this one is, compared to the 8.5 by 11, is smaller by about that much. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention it's called Adult Coloring Fish, Relax and Rewind. And then this one is Color by Numbers, Advanced Coloring, Easy to Use Full Color Number Keys. So the Color by Numbers actually has some color pages printed inside. And actually I just noticed that this paper is a little yellow on the edges. So these books were pretty old when I bought them. So in this one we actually have some instructions, which is nice. But I guess that's all we get is one page. This is what it looks like. So we have our grid with these teeny tiny numbers. Each one of those little triangles has a number in it. And at the bottom, we actually have those same numbers, and those numbers have colors in them. So we have no idea what this picture is gonna look like until we put the colors in. That's a bit weird. So this is one also with triangles. This one has hexagons. I thought it would be a little bit clearer and a little bit easier to tell what the picture would be. Just look at the grid. This one is squares. More squares. More teeny tiny triangles. This one more hexagons, more triangles. Some are bigger, some are smaller. But each one has that little key at the bottom. And this one is circles. Are there any indications of what these pictures are gonna look like before? Okay, so here we go. So at the end of the book, we do get a page which I'm guessing correlates. Like, there's no page numbers on here, which is a little bit okay. But I'm guessing this first one is the butterfly, is this one. and so on and so forth. At least it's there, but I feel like I wish that it was, first of all, I wish it was numbered so you could actually tell which, so it would be a little bit easier to flip back and forth. Maybe if you take this, let me see, like we can also test the, oh, that tore. Ah, no, no, it's tearing. Okay, that was terrible. I promise I tried to do it really carefully. We'll just leave it like this. But if you have now this page separate, and then you kind of go through and check which one you want to color, and if you number it yourself, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you number the pages yourself, then you should be able to. Let's count like 14. So there's 14 illustrations here that you can color. Color by numbers, it's the same size as the other one, so it's a little bit smaller than 8.5 by 11, so letter size. Now let's test this paper. And the first thing I'm going to do is try some alcohol markers because I like to live dangerously. Let's have a look at the bleed through. Quite significant bleed through, but not, just a little bit onto the other page. Not too bad. Let's look at some Crayola Super Tips. No bleed through. Let's try some Friction, Pilot Friction color pens. That was super easy. No bleed through with that. Alright, let's try some pencils now. Let's do the Prismacolor Premier pencils. That's good, actually. I feel like the paper has a bit of tooth to it. Let's have a look if there's, like, if you can layer these markers, like what's gonna happen. The paper seems to be handling it pretty well. It's just bleeding through, but because we have that blank back page, then it's actually pretty good. So I'm actually thoroughly impressed with this dollar store book. I feel like this one is the best one because it has the perforated pages, it has the thick paper, it can handle the alcohol markers and the other markers beautifully. It's good even for your Prismacolor pencils. So you can see here, like, it's nice and toothy. Like, let's see if we wanna like blend it out. Super good. Like, it's really, really nice. Super impressed with this book. Now I think I'm not gonna do this one because I feel like this is super complicated and also this paper is the same as this paper. So let's do this one. Let's compare an alcohol marker drawing from the Amazon book. As you can see, it looks like the markers are a little bit brighter, so I use different colors. The bleed through is also pretty significant at the back here. So, and also here the paper is a little bit thinner, so it actually like bleeds through on the next page. With the Amazon book, always I suggest putting a paper behind what you're coloring. So let's pick one of these. Let's do this Little Mermaid. I feel like I want to turn it this way. So I have pretty much zero hope for this, but we're gonna try anyway. Let's start with the Friction pens. Why does she have such big ears? Generally, the Friction markers do not bleed through because if you don't know these markers, they sit on top of the paper and you can erase them. So let's see. No bleed through. Let's do the Prismacolors. Granted, your colors are not going to be as vibrant because this is a gray paper. Oh, and we can see that it's actually smudging. Like, can you see that? Like, it's smudging the ink that's on the paper. That's not good. That's not what you want. The Crayola Super Tips now. Oh, wow, like you can see like it's picking up such a weird texture. I think these would be good coloring books for like teens or kids. But you know what, actually, it could be for anyone who is on a budget and they just don't really care what the paper is. They just want to like mess around in a coloring book. And I don't see any bleed through. I mean, there's some ghosting right here, but no bleed through. Now let's hope we don't dissolve the paper with our alcohol markers. Yeah, can you see that? It's got a very like, well, not very, it's just got a little bit of a rougher texture. And there's the bleed through. Oh, it actually still feels wet. Actually, it's not that bad. I thought it would be worse. It's actually not that bad at all. This is a perfectly acceptable coloring book. But I just want to show you, can you see that texture? It's not the best, and it's actually warping a little bit as well. Moral of the story, these are not as bad as you would think. And just try not to press too hard with your pencils. For the alcohol markers, I guess you're just gonna have to sacrifice one of the sides of the paper. So if you really like this side, and then you have to sacrifice this one. So, but you know what? It's the dollar store. So if you really like both of them, just buy 2 books. And in one book, you color this one, and in the other book, you color this one. Done. And they are perforated, but I would suggest being super, super careful because you saw what happened when I tried to tear out the pages. That is my little haul, review, impression, and test of these dollar store coloring books. So I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you found it helpful. That is it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. Have you ever bought anything from the dollar store for coloring, for art, for crafts? Did you use it? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!